What's happening, y'all? Welcome to my first build of point 3. This works with Invoker, it works with Acolyte of Cholula, but in this video, we're going to cover everything that you need to be able to level as smooth as possible with Unarmed Monk. We're going to discuss when you should get it, what gear you should go for, passive skills, rotation, and of course, support gems and your skills. If this guide helps you out, make sure that you like the video and also comment down below if you're going Invoker or Chalupa. The best possible way to support the channel is just by subscribing. That's basically it. And also you're going to be able to keep up to date with the future content I'm going to be releasing because there's an endgame guide that's coming for this exact build. Okay, so firstly, what you need to know, if this is your first character and you don't have any twin gear or any uniques or anything like that, you might struggle a little bit in the beginning. So you do have two options. You can start off with a quarterstaff and get a couple of abilities through the quarterstaff, or you can go with a bow build until you get to level 14. Once you kill the first boss in the starting area, you're going to go to the Clearfell encampment, and there you can speak with Rendley and get a very cheap bow and start getting your abilities, and all you need is two: lightning arrow and lightning rod. If you go through this path, you better get two support gems for lightning arrow. One is rapid attacks, which is the brand new martial tempo. You're also going to need elemental armament, which used to be primal armament, and those two, the reason we're going with these two is because they're going to help lightning arrow, and we're going to use them for our prime build later on. Hey, before we get back to the video, let's talk about something that's been helping me out a lot lately. This video is sponsored by boot.dev, and as you guys already probably know, this is a platform that I've been using to sharpen my backend dev skills, and it's completely different from the usual boring tutorials. The smartest way to learn coding is to actually do the work you'd be doing on the job, and that's exactly what boot.dev does, but even more fun, as everything is actually gamified. From the start, you're writing real Python, Go, and SQL code, solving challenges and building projects that feel meaningful. What I love is that you're never learning alone. There's a full Discord community with real people who help you out if you get stuck. And inside the actual platform, Boots, the AI wizard bear, guides you through problems with questions that make you think, instead of just dumping the questions. You can try it out for free in guest mode, and if you want the full interactive experience, use my code Scorpius at checkout for 25% off your first payment. And with their 30-day refund policy, there's zero risk in giving it a shot. If you're serious about getting into coding, whether for a career or just for fun, boot.dev is a fantastic way to start. If you guys decide to go for quarterstaff, then I'm going to have multiple different levels that you can follow through. So there's going to be different abilities that you're going to start with, and there's support gems. This is early levels 1 to 14. And then once you get level 14, you actually unlock our prime ability, which is Ice Strike, and these are the early levels. But what I want to do here is go over the main skills so you guys understand what skills we use and why we use them, so you can see the gameplay and the footage that I'm going to show you so you can understand how to build this. And then we're going to go over their support gems. So the first ability that you should care about is the prime ability, Ice Strike. This ability converts 80% of physical damage to cold damage. It attacks pretty fast and it hits them 3 times, with the third strike being more powerful. The second ability in our kit is going to be Charged Staff, which empowers our quarterstaff attacks with electricity, adding lightning damage to them. And the way that we use this ability is by consuming power charges. The more power charges we consume, the longer the duration of Charged Staff. The third ability here, which is mostly a boss ability, is Tempest Bell. We drop a bell to the ground, and if we hit the bell, it's going to emanate even more damage. So you want to make sure that you place this on the boss and just spam hit on the bell. Usually you want to make sure that your Ice Strike is charged with Charged Staff before you hit it with a bell. Now, the way that we get those power charges for Charged Staff is through one of our auras called Combat Frenzy. Combat Frenzy is going to generate you charges based on what you do to the enemy. If you freeze them, electrocute them, or pin them, you're going to be able to get charges, and we use those charges for Charged Staff. Second aura in our kit is going to be Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice is going to deal more damage by icy explosions whenever you shatter the enemies, which is a really good combo with Ice Strike as well. Our third and final aura is going to be Herald of Thunder, which you're going to unlock further into the campaign. Herald of Thunder does practically the same thing as Herald of Ice, but for thunder, and the reason why we use this is because we already use use electricity and lightning damage through our charged staff. The last two abilities are more for mobility and closing the gap between you and the packs or the bosses, but they can also be used for damage. First one is Vaulting Impact. I absolutely love this ability, especially early levels. Vaulting Impact is going to leap forward and slam the ground, dealing a lot of damage and applying broken stance to dazed enemies. And then lastly, we've got Shattering Palm, which you can dash to the enemy, which is going to coat them with shards of ice. And then if you deal enough damage to those enemies, they will shatter the shards, causing an icy explosion that deals attack damage. So to quickly look at the support gems, on Ice Strike, we have 3 gems that you can go for. Elemental Armament, which used to be Primal Armament for extra elemental attack damage. Ice Bite for 25% of damage as cold damage for 5 seconds on freezing an enemy. And it's pretty easy for us to freeze an enemy, so this is really good. And then lastly, we've got Close Combat for 20% more attack damage to enemies that are close to you, which is what we use Ice Strike for. Then for Charged Staff, we're going to go for things like Shock, because this one gives us 100% more chance to shock the enemies, which is going to help us with our Combat Frenzy because we're going to electrocute them, and it's going to help Herald of Thunder deal more damage. The second support gem is Perpetual Charge because it gives us 25% chance to not remove a charge but still count as consuming them. And lastly, we've got Prolonged Duration, which used to be Persistence, which simply gives us more skill effect duration. On Tempest Bell, we have Concentrated Area. This is going to provide us 30% more area damage. And Close Combat, once again, the same as Ice Strike. You can have a duplication here and put it on Tempest Bell. For Combat Frenzy, you can go for Charge Profusion. This used to be called Profusion before, and it has 30% chance to grant an additional charge. For Herald of Ice, we want Cold Attunement, 25% of damage as extra cold damage on the Herald of Ice, Magnified Area for 35% increased area of effect, and Elemental Armament once again for more elemental attack damage. For Herald of Thunder, we need Longshot for 25% more attack damage to enemies further away from you, and Concentrated Area for 30% more area damage. Last but not least, on Vaulting Impact, we only have one support gem, which is Fist of War, which is going to make the ability ancestrally boosted, increasing its damage. As I mentioned briefly before, the rotation is pretty simple, as you can see in the footage. For AoE, you want to start with Shattering Palm so you can close the gap and also coat them with the icy shards, then spam Ice Strike and they will explode. That's going to pair beautifully with Herald of Ice. While you're doing all of that, you're going to start gaining charges and you're going to be able to use Charged Staff, and that's going to empower your Ice Strike and Palm rotation as well. If you need, you can also use Vaulting Impact to close in gaps or deal even more damage. On bosses, all you gotta do is spam Ice Strike until you get 2 or 3 charges, then use your Charged Staff, drop your Tempest Bell, and spam Ice Strike on your Tempest Bell. If you need to dodge mechanics and quickly need to close the gap, then you can go ahead and use Shattering Palm and Vaulting Impact. Next up, let's look at the passive tree. Now, as I said, you can go Acolyte of Chayula or you can go Invoker, and the first 4 points I went for I'm the Blizzard because this one gives me 10% of damage as extra cold damage on freezing enemies, creating chilled grounds, which is pretty cool. And the other one is Sunder My Enemies because critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monsters. I preferred these two rather than anything else, or Unbound Avatar, or even Lead Me Through Grace. These are going to be mandatory later on, but Lead Me Through Grace, I think it's too early in the leveling campaign to get this because the amount of spirit is not going to be there. It's better to find a chess piece, and it's pretty common to find one that has 40 plus or 30 plus spirit, so you can be able to have a triple or a set. Now, regarding our passive tree, there are a few things that we need to talk about before you actually start copy pasting this build and pathing through it. First things first, Hollow Palm technique. This is what allows you to become unarmed. Yes, it's really good. However, the number one question that I'm getting is, how soon should I get it? If this is your first playthrough and you don't have any twink gear and any good stuff, I would delay this probably until level 35 plus. The reason why is very simple. If you read through the ability here, it says that you get physical damage based on their skill level. That's how it scales. Based on skill level is number 1. You get 1% more attack speed per 25 item evasion rating on your equipped armor item, and you get 0.1% on critical hit chance per 10 item energy shield on your gear, which means that the lower level you are when you get this, the less you're going to scale because you don't have a lot of evasion or a lot of energy shield in your gear, and your skill levels are very low. So So for example, just to test things out with my first run, I went with Hollow Palm Technique at level 14 and it was a struggle. So I definitely recommend you guys around level 30, 35, you should be good to go. However, if it's your alt, your second, third build that you're following right now, you should be absolutely good to go if you know what kind of uniques to get. Next question I get asked a lot is, how do I get charges? You need 3 things to get charges. Number 1, you need to either be pinning the enemies, freezing them, or electrocuting them. Second thing you need is Combat Frenzy, the aura that we saw before. Combat Frenzy, whenever you're freezing, in our case with Ice Strike and all of our abilities, it's going to give you frenzy charges. And lastly, what you're going to need is going to be resonance, because as you can see here, your frenzy charges are going to be converted to power charges. That's how you're going to be able to use Charged Staff. Now, something that's more of a tip, not really a question that I'm getting because not a lot of people know about this. Bestial Skin is not going to work for Unarmed. What I mean by that is, you remember I told you that Unarmed, we saw that Hollow Palm Technique, where is it? Right here. Hollow Palm Technique works with evasion rating on your armor that's equipped and you get attack speed. Well, Bestial Skin increases evasion rating by 100% from your equipped body armor. So I rushed to get Bestial Skin to see if that's going to help us, and unfortunately it does not increase your attack speed, which simply means that Hollow Palm Technique works with local modifiers on your gear and not just overall. So Bestial Skin does not increase our attack speed, does not increase our attack damage. It does not work with Unarmed in that way. However, it's going to be really, really good for defense. Next thing that I'm getting asked a lot is, should I go for crit first or defense first, or what's the pathing that I should go for? So for the passive tree in the beginning, things should be very, very simple. Just go through this path all the way here and start getting your attack damage and your melee damage and all that good stuff, the attack speed. If you see that you have issues defensively, you don't have good gear, then make sure that you get Mindful Awareness. It's really good. This node right here, Essence of the Mountain, is really good early on as well. It gives you more cold damage, freeze buildup, stuff like that. And then you can start going into your crit nodes. These are going to help you and increase your damage significantly. Also, you can path towards here and get Echoing Frost. However, don't forget that Echoing Thunder works with shocked enemies, and if you don't have your Charged Staff with shocked support gem and your Herald of Thunder, there's no reason to go for this. When you're done with your crit and you have your resonance, because now you have Combat Frenzy as well, you can also get yourself Chakra of Thought, because this is going to give you some more defensives. And then if we go all the way down here, you can get all of these. Enhanced Reflexes are going to help us out a lot because it's going to give us more evasions, it's going to give us deflection rating, as well as Bestial Skin, especially if you manage to find a chest piece that is pure evasion. This node is really good if you're suffering with mana. Early on, you're going to be fine. Later on, you're going to start being a little bit more mana hungry. Whenever you start noticing that, then a Walker of the Wilds is going to be a good node to get. Now, regarding the jewels, there's only one jewel that I found that was even decent and good enough to talk about. I've got this one that gives you attack damage, elemental damage. I managed to craft this myself. I was pretty lucky. Life recovery from flasks, not bad. Increase elemental ailment threshold. All 4 actually help me out. It's leveling. You don't need the best of the best jewels, but if you can find attack damage, elemental damage, cold damage, stuff like that, they're really gonna help you out. And since this build is an unarmed build, as I said, try delay the Hollow Palm Technique as much as you can. But nevertheless, whenever you decide to go for Hollow Palm Technique, Quarterstaff is going to be very important if you're using one. It's very basic physical damage, attack speed, elemental damage, cold damage on it, plus levels of melee skills. Things like that are really going to help you shine and deal more damage with the Quarterstaff. But regarding all of your other gear, obviously you need Energy Shield and Evasion is what we're focusing on. Personally, I went for pure Evasion on the body armor, but that happened whenever I decided I'm going to go for Bestial Skin. And also I managed to find one with plus 43 spirit that really helps me out as well. But early levels, the gear for leveling does not need to be perfect. All you need is a few basic modifiers. For example, you need your evasion and your energy shield as the base. Don't look at armor, don't look at anything else but evasion rating, energy shield. Does it need to be a one or the other? It doesn't matter. Even hybrid is going to be fine for leveling. Don't worry about it too much. The second most important thing is going to be your resistances. If you start ignoring your resistances, eventually you're going to have an issue. You're going to start getting one-shotted. So you want to have as many resistances as possible. If you can find maximum mana, maximum life, dexterity, intelligence, things like that. They're really good. Later on, when you start getting to Act 3 and Act 4, that's where you can start looking for different kind of modifiers. For example, the spirit on the chest piece, or start looking for flat damage on your gloves, or leech on your gloves, or maybe your rings. You want to go for physical damage, cold damage on your rings. A quick tip that I want to give you guys, there are a lot of good uniques that are very cheap as well, and anyone can afford them. If you're playing in trade, if you're playing SSF, don't worry about it, but try and hunt them down. But they're very cheap, and they're going to significantly improve your damage as well as the flow of your build. And one of those uniques is going to be the Pulsey ring. This is probably like 1 exalted or even less than that, and it's a really, really good ring. You can take it all the way to the end game. It's going to do wonders for you. It increases your cold damage, and enemies chilled by your hits can be shattered as though frozen, which is really good. It adds up to it. And lastly, what I want to talk about is the story awards. Unfortunately, Maxroll does not have every single choice here, but just on top of my head, what I remember is I went for charm charges and the life recovery. There's a choice where you choose for life flask or mana flask. You want to go for the life one. Then the choice for stun or elemental element, I went for stun. Eventually, later on, you're going to have to choose 3 times to either get attributes or get resistances. Personally, I went for resistances. I think the resistances are going to be much more important than getting +5 attributes, especially now that they lowered the attribute requirement for a lot of things. And then eventually there's one more very important one where there's like 7 pillars and you choose between movement speed, elemental resistance, stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to pull up the picture here. But here there are 2 things in my opinion. The elemental resistance is really good, but I went for the 15% increased global defense. But yeah, whenever Maxroll actually updates the site with the new ones, and we have all of them. I think there's 1 or 2 that I skipped. I'm gonna make sure that I update it in the written guide. But that's basically it for my ultimate leveling unarmed monk build. Once again, I'm gonna update everything as we go. I'm gonna create an endgame guide as well. If it was helpful, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out future content. You can come and join us live over on twitch.tv/scorpius_ent so you can watch me play this build and other builds as well. Once again, thank you to boot.dev for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget, guys, to use code SCORPIUS for 25% off your first purchase. But thank you very much for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Peace.